Hi everybody, this is Lino Tadros, and in this video we will continue our journey learning about Semantic Kernel. But instead of using a model that has been deployed to Azure AI Foundry, I wonder if we can actually use something like, say, from GitHub. GitHub have a lot of different models available. They are low rate, they are not for production, but for development and for testing, they are great and free, so you can beat that. So I wanted to find out how can we actually deal with GitHub models using Semantic Kernel. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, let's open up our browser and we will go to github.com. And I would like to go to a specific page, which is the marketplace. Marketplace, there you go. So when you go to the /marketplace on GitHub, you will notice they're talking about a lot of different models in here. On the left side, when you see the Copilot, the models, the apps, and the action, click on models. And then you can take a look at the catalog of all the different models available through the GitHub models. Or you can actually go straight to the playground to start playing around with some of these models. Even though it's low rate, that means you probably do not want to use that for production. It will still be very useful for you to know how it works. So I'm going to go to the catalog in here. And there are tons of different models that I can use, from GPT-5 Nano to Mini to GPT-5 Chat, and the big kahuna for OpenAI GPT-5 at the time of the recording of this video. As you can see, that is the DeepSeek R10528, one of the videos before. We tried that from the Azure AI Foundry, so you can use it from here, from GitHub itself if you would like. And you can keep going down. There is some reasoning models. So let's go ahead and try this one, for instance, GPT 4.1 Mini. So if I click on this 4.1 Mini here in GitHub Marketplace, you can read a lot about it. You can actually see the license. You can see the cost also, even though you can use it in the playground for free. But of course, it's going to give you a very small amount, not very small, but an input and output. You can see there's about 1048K input and a 33K output. The training happened as of May 2024. So you get some information about that. All right, so let's go ahead and click on the playground and try to play around with this OpenAI GPT 4.1 Mini. So I can actually start asking questions and see how it performs, which is great. I don't have to pay for any of that stuff. The tokens are not actually going against any of your credit card at the end of the month or anything like that. So it's great to test it out. And also there will be a time where I would like to see how can I get to this model in GitHub for free with a low rate, I understand, but in code, whether it's in Python or in .NET like C# or JavaScript or anything else. So you notice there is a tab here called Code. Let's click on that. And there are some things here that gives me an idea of what's going to go against the GitHub models. There is the API key that I'm used to in Semantic Kernel. Obviously, it's going to have to use something like a GitHub token. So we'll have to create a token, personal token, for instance, in my GitHub account, just to be able to use it against that. And this is probably one of the most important things, is that how do I get to the endpoint to get to this model? So the HTTPS models.github.ai/inference. So I need to copy that into the clipboard for right now, because I'm going to need that for Semantic Kernel. Also, which model? Like I said, there are tons of them. So instead of just saying GPT-4.1 Mini, it has to say OpenAI/GPT-4.1-Mini. All right? Or you can actually use any of the other models, whether it's DeepSeek or there are tons are not related to OpenAI, and you will see exactly what the model is, but the endpoint will probably be staying the same. So the only difference, in my opinion, is that you have to know how to create a GitHub token. And it's not only creating the GitHub token, you have to give it permissions to be able to get called from the outside world as well. So let's go ahead and try to do that. All right, I'm going to go back to my Visual Studio Code application here, all the code. We've created, I believe, 4 different projects so far. So I'm going to do a Control-Shift-P, and we'll see we'd like to create a brand new project. We will go to the console app. And this one, we will call it, let's say, maybe 04-GitHub, so that when you get the code at the end of the course, you will remember which one was what. Let me spell this correctly. GitHub, there you go. And we will put it in its own folder in the solution, and we're ready to go. There is my GitHub, and all is good to go. All right, so this is a trick here that you might actually like. If I go to my project in here, remember I used to bring in 3 or 4 different NuGet packages. And you think that one of them will have a connector against GitHub. No, actually, we will have to use the connectors from Azure AI Inference. Even though the endpoint will be in GitHub, we can definitely use this semantic kernel.connectors of Azure AI Inference. And in here, for instance, I'm going to move it up to 64, which was just got released for me yesterday. Probably would be a different number by the time you see this video. Just make sure that it's the latest and go for it. And the Azure AI Inference is still, actually, it's in beta right now. It's not an alpha. And some of them will say dash preview, some will say dash beta. Just go into the NuGet and copy and paste the name of the NuGet package, and it will tell you what the name of the latest available that is stable for you to use in preview or a release GA. Sounds good? All right, let's do a Control S in here. Once you save this, automatically it will bring in all the different NuGet packages, and my project will be ready to go. Now we're ready to create, like we always do, we create a new file at the root of the project, and we'll call it app settings.json. All right. If you're doing this in Python, that will be your .env file for the environment. Okay. So I'm going to bring this in, and I need to bring in a new key, which is the GitHub. Again, you can call this whatever you want, but we need an API key, and we need an endpoint, and we need a model ID. I'm going to leave them here as replace, but we will need to go get that stuff automatically from GitHub itself under models to fill them in. Two of them we already know. So we know that the endpoint, let me bring it in, is called https models.github.ai/inference. And we saw that actually from the code example that was available on GitHub. And of course, the model ID, if you remember, it's not called GPT-4.1 Mini, it's called OpenAI/GPT-4.1. We can actually change it from 4.0 to 4.1 to 5.0 if you want. Any of the ones available, it doesn't matter. If it's available inside of the models of GitHub, you will be able to talk to it. So the only thing left is the API key. And like I said, that will be the PAT, the personal token in here that we need to bring in. All right, how do I get that? Let's go back to GitHub. There's my account over there. Just click on your picture at this point, and you will notice there is settings here all the way close to the M. And when you click on settings on the left side, go all the way down to developer settings, right there. And then there are personal access token. Use the fine grain token, okay? We'll do that. I already have a couple. I'm going to create a brand new token. And in here, we'll call it, for instance, YouTube token. Okay, you can call it whatever you want. Give it a nice description to remember what that is. I'm going to make myself actually the resource owner for that. We'll just expire it in 30 days. You have access to 7, 30, 60, 90, or have a custom or no expiration at all. I think 30 days will be more than enough. Even though I'm going to show you my path, which is a very dangerous thing to do, but by the time I actually release this video, I'll automatically have deleted that token. So it's not a big deal that you see it. It's going to ask you some questions that might actually get you confused. Should I do this for public repositories, all repositories, or only selected repositories? Remember, I'm doing this to access in code, so it has nothing to do with this at all. So don't get confused. It's okay. You can leave it at public repository. We don't care. If you click on generate token at this point, that will not work. You will not be able to write code in any language, Python or C# or JavaScript, against the models in GitHub. You have to click on add permissions, and there are a lot of different categories for permission. The one I'm interested in is called models. If you don't check this guy, it will not work. And it has to give it access read only. There is no other access permission that you can give it. But once you have the read-only access on the models, you will be able to talk to it and it will work. And great, let me go ahead and generate the token at this point. And it will ask you, YouTube model token grants you 1 account permission for models. Yes, I understand. Go for it. And it's there. There is my token. I'm going to copy that in the clipboard, put it somewhere, maybe in Notepad or whatever, because once you move away from that page, you will never be able to see that PAT token again. All right. So let me go back to Visual Studio Code, and inside of this API key, I'm going to go ahead and paste my PAT key in here as well. We'll do a Control S, and my environment file for the app settings.json is ready to go. All right, let's go back to the program.c and find out how we can actually write the same code, but this time we go against the GitHub models. I'm actually going to copy and paste the code from the previous projects. I'm not going to change anything really. So we'll say Control A, Control V. You will notice all the code is based on exactly the same 3 or 4 different projects that we have built before. The only thing that will change is all the way at the top in here. In my configuration, I'm still using the app settings. I'm just getting the Azure AI inference chat completion using the GitHub model ID and the GitHub API key, which is the path from GitHub Personal Access Token, and the endpoint that's going against the GitHub models themselves. Nothing else in the code will change. Even the prompt execution settings is based on Azure AI inference, passing the maximum tokens and the temperature and all that. Nothing in the code changes. But now I'm going against a completely different way in the GitHub models, not through the Azure AI Foundry or anything like that. So that's an important thing to understand as well. Okay, let me go ahead and do a Control S on that to save, and we will do CD. The name of it is 04 GitHub, I believe, yes. Let me clear, and we'll say .NET run. And let's see if that will work. If it gives me a user and it's ready for me to ask a question, we should be in good shape. All right, notice my attributes as well is reminding me that the endpoint is going against GitHub AI inference, and the model ID is OpenAI GPT-4o Mini, which is great. Now I can say, why is the sky blue? And we let it go. Again, it's going to be streaming in, and it looks like it's working just fine, and it was able to get that answer directly from one of the GitHub models against OpenAI as well. We push enter to stop it, and we're ready to go. Hopefully that was useful. It's just a little trick to find out how to get the path and use GitHub models, but you definitely can do that during testing and development. Not recommended, of course, for production to use GitHub models. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to recording another one for you really quickly. Thanks.